watching the Dawgs Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
It's the Dawgs Show. It's the Dawgs Show. It's the Dawgs Show.
You're listening to the one and only Dawgs Show. Your hosts, Troop Brinson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dawgs Show with Troop and Smooch, and it is Alabama week. We have the Alabama-Georgia preview tonight, and I mean, it feels like vacation time, Smooch. My mindset, you got to work this week. I got to work this week. I feel like I'm already there. I'm already ready for the weekend.
My work this week consists of getting everyone that's doing my job this weekend ready.
Yes.
So that's what my work is. But before we get any further,
I think Alabama sucks.
Alabama!
there we go. Now we're
Get
ready.
them all out of there. We're so excited. And, you know, this is one of those games you always circle before the season. And Alabama and Georgia have a history in the past few years. Maybe not a rivalry, but a rivalry when it comes to winning national championships. And both of these teams have been very good at that. Tonight, we're going to talk about how we feel as fans. And are we, with all this Alabama anxiety, and are we still Alabama's little bro?
That's a great question, man.
They're quick to tell us we are.
Yeah.
They're quick to tell us that we are. You little bro, you're not here yet. You won't be here for a long time. And we want to push back and fight against that because it feels like because we've been winning more than they have in the past few years. We really have.
Since last few years of Saban. Last 3 years of Saban, yeah.
Yeah, we got 2 natties since they've done anything. But head to head, they've treated us like little bro. And a lot of those years we've been favored. But we're going to talk about that and talk about this the series with Alabama since Kirby took over, and then talk about Ty Simpson and what Alabama needs to do to win. And Georgia's offensive line, we got some news, a little bit of news on that. We did have somebody on the scene late last week to peek in there and see what was going on because we are very concerned about what we saw against Tennessee on our right side of the offensive line. So we have some info on that. And then we'll just talk about, Smooch, just chit-chat about what Georgia's got to do to win this ball game because I don't even care. I mean, we could lose this game and still win a national championship. I don't want to lose this game. This is a game. It's time. It's a home game. It's time for us to put everything to bed and start a winning streak against the Bama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I really wanted to pull that excerpt from the old 1970s movie, The Exorcist, or was it early 80s? From The Exorcist,
70s.
Demons out! This is the cleansing of the demons. This has to be done. Troop, there's 2 ways to look at where Georgia and Alabama have been over, say, the last 5 years. Georgia's record is better. Georgia's national championship collection is much better. Yet, head-to-head, Alabama owns, for better part, the University of Georgia, and that's been where it is. So would a national championship this year with an Alabama loss still be amazing? Yes, but the desire to put it to bed, that we believe that Georgia is the standard of college football, but you can't have a team you can't beat if you're going to keep calling yourself the standard. And so there is a feeling of incredible importance in this game. I feel it. You feel it, not just because we're going to be there. It is palpable around Dog Nation. That's the reason you haven't seen a lot of chirping this year. This is a huge game. I can't think of a week 4 game that's been any bigger than this one is, True.
There is anxiety. I don't care how well you're playing. And Georgia coming off that Tennessee game should be like, okay, we can beat anybody. We know our defense is much better than they showed against Tennessee. And I talked to people this past week, and they said, why do we do this? And why do we give it this many points? I was like, do you remember against Ohio State when they were clicking on offense and we gave up 41 points against them too? It was. And was our defense still good that year? It was. Sometimes you tip your cap and say, wow, you guys played great. But it doesn't mean that that's what to expect over the course of the full season. And so, but looking at this series, there is so much anxiety no matter how well you're playing. And Kirby's 1-6. He don't say much about that, but you know that bothers him. And you can say, okay, this was Kirby versus Saban. Well, you turn that DeBoer versus Kirby into 0-2. If they lose, again, how does that feel? Does it feel like it's just Alabama and we just can't get over that hump? Because it really feels like Saban was, or obviously Saban is a whole different animal than DeBoer has been since he's been at Alabama. But that's just the way I'm feeling.
Yeah, Troop, there is something, and I can tell you, you're a psychology major, and we study we approach things from just the human nature side of it, and you do have to start to wonder, because Alabama, I think their players are confident they're going to play their best game when they play Georgia, because they do. Jalen Milroe was the best college football player in the world for one night last year, and it was against the Georgia Bulldogs. They have that confidence, and you have to say the opposite may be true. There is anxiety and concern possibly amongst the Georgia side. I know Kirby's a great motivator. I know he's got them ready to play, but they know what the score is, so to speak, no pun intended. They know. And so there is so much. The idea that a coach, first time playing Kirby Smart ever, is going to beat him like DeBoer did last year, that doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense is the logo that's on his chest.
Yeah. And if I was an Alabama fan or an Alabama player, honestly, I'd be thinking, okay, we saw what happened on your right side of your line of scrimmage. We are coming after you. You're not good. We're going to take advantage of that.
They are going to,
and they might. And we saw what happened in your defensive backfield a couple times. And dude, Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. Oh, they got better receivers than. Apologies, Tennessee. You guys had a great night, but Alabama's got a couple wide receivers better than anything you got.
Touchdown waiting to happen. Yep.
And so they should feel good. If whatever you could say, whatever breaks down, we got that on our side. If that's the truth, it was the truth last week or 2 weeks ago against Tennessee. It might not be the truth in Athens this Saturday night. But Alabama fans have got to feel really confident, even if they can't run the ball, even if they struggle doing certain things. Those are two things that are big in terms of winning a ball game. Let's look at the schedule. Let's look at what they've done against Georgia in this 1-6 run that they've had against us in the Kirby Smart era. And that's all started in the championship game. It was that 17-18 season, and of course, it was 2nd and 26, and Georgia lost there 26-23, and that was a game they could have easily won, except for that one big play. And then we move on to 2018, that next season, an SEC championship, Alabama 35-28, and Georgia had that game at a 14-point lead in that game, and just Alabama does just like what Tennessee thinks about Georgia. Georgia thinks about Alabama.
Oh, that is a great point. Oh my gosh, I got chills.
We've seen this movie before. It used to be Georgia and Florida back in the 90s. You could have a great shot to beat them, but you've seen the movie before. They would find a way to win. You already knew the ending before, no matter what was happening during the game. But Georgia had a 14-point lead in 18, lost that 35-28, and then in 2020, COVID year, not a great game, 41-24, Alabama. No problems with the Dogs. And then we move on. Things change a little bit in that 2021 season, the Georgia's national championship season. That SEC championship was an outlier type of a game, and Alabama looks at that. And we were more healthy that game. Georgia didn't play that way all year. Alabama didn't play that way all year, but they took it to Georgia, and a team that was wrecked with some illness on the line of scrimmage. 41-24 in 2020 in the SEC championship. And that's a back-to-back scores. 20 and 21 are both that. Those last two games are 41-24. It kind of confused me. But then, of course, we just heard it in the kicking off our show. Keely Ringo pick six, 33-18. Georgia did win that championship.
Just a few weeks later.
It was. And now we had no hope for that. We were like, okay, well, they're just better than we are. Yeah. But that was an iconic Georgia team, and they got it done. Yeah. And then last couple years, SEC championship, Alabama 27-24 against Georgia in 23. That was the Beck-led team.
Yeah.
And then last year where they went up, of course, 28-0 in the first half. Georgia fought the way back. A lot of chances, a lot of fourth down plays. Beck brought them back, and Georgia took a brief lead, and then they hooked up with Ryan Williams, did Milroe. Milroe looked like the best player I've ever seen in the first half in that game, and Georgia
really
changed some things, and that was really smooth. Georgia did lose that game 41-34, but that was the high point of DeBoer's tenure so far. In his 16 games at Alabama, that first half was the high point. He lost 4 games after that. He's lost 5 games since that first half.
That is amazing to think about, and it was amazing that the team that played that first half could come out and get. I mean, they didn't lose the game, but they lost that second half so drastically. And if it wouldn't have been for one of the most talented kids in the world making a great play, it could have very easily been a Georgia victory. But the idea that, we looked at it as a loss because it was a loss. But what it really did is signify that though DeBoer has some juice as an offensive mind or whatever, there's also some glaring problems because Georgia should have never been back in that ball game, ever. And it turned out to be a harbinger of things to come for Bama, and it just kind of started this road they're on. And I got to tell you, you mentioned Alabama fans. I live amongst the Sabanites here, and every one of them is walking very carefully. I've gotten no trash talk like normal this season because we'll touch it in a little bit, but they just don't trust DeBoer is what it comes down to.
Nor should they, because he's lost a third of his games, Smooch. Wow. 16 games total. He's lost
Alabama
5 of them.
Crimson Tide. That's it doesn't even sound right. It sounds like a mistake.
We warned
when you
him.
say it. Yeah.
We warned him. Don't be entitled. You're not entitled to success every year, especially when your coaching staff changes. And we saw it in the last couple of years of Saban's tenure, and we saw where it was headed. And we called it out. We said, this is not the same product we've seen over the years. It's not peak Alabama. Something's changed. And then, he turned it over to DeBoer, and he's trying to run what he did in a couple of stops he had on the West Coast, and it just didn't click at all because it's the culture. You got to create it, and he didn't have the same standard. He didn't. He can say they can say whatever they want in the press conferences, and they say the right things. DeBoer didn't have the same standard. The players recognize it, and they were like, "This is much easier than when Saban was coaching. Let's have a good time."
Well, we've heard that from boosters, right? We've heard that from Alabama boosters that there is. Even in the team hotels and doing things that players do when they're on the road or things like there's something that there's a huge difference in the discipline between the two coaches. Yeah. Stark
difference. Yeah. But one thing that is very common with all those losses and I guess since Kirby's been the head coach against Alabama is Georgia's been favored in a lot of those games. I think maybe the only time they weren't favored was in that championship that they won because Alabama put it on them in the SEC championship. But yeah, they've been favored a lot of those games. But it's just like you got to get over it. You got to put this to bed, and it hasn't happened. But I will say Alabama has had these quarterbacks over that time.
Yeah, this is interesting.
And yeah, you can tie anything together. They had Jalen Hurts and Tua. They had Bryce Young and Milroe. So those are the common quarterbacks. Tua, Jalen Hurts, Bryce Young, and Milroe. And Milroe played probably the best game of his life in that first half. And he beat Georgia twice, as a matter of fact, in his career. But those things are worth talking about and worth, I guess, recognizing what kind of players they were and how they played the game. And then saying, is that Ty Simpson?
Yeah.
Is it a guy?
That's a fair question. I think that, Milroe, sublimely talented, maybe never completely, for a season, put it all together. He certainly did for a half against the Bulldogs. And then when you're talking about Tua and Young, you're talking about some of the most prolific passers of their age in college. Is Ty Simpson that guy? I don't think we know, but I'll tell you what, his team was on the ropes and needed the quarterback to put against FSU, needed the quarterback to put the team on his shoulders and bring him back, and he didn't. That's the only thing we know. Is that an outlier? We may find out soon. But so far, he has not shown to have the it factor. He throws a beautiful ball, but the it factor hasn't shown up yet. Yeah,
the only thing with that game, I would put a lot of credence in that game. if it wasn't his first start, if it was the first game of the season. If it was game 3 or game 4, he did that and looked like that. And he wasn't that terrible, but their team was. But he didn't elevate them. I would say, okay, but for some reason I'm like, okay, well, he's played better since then, so maybe that was just the first game kind of deal. But all those other quarterbacks, what they have in common is they're very mobile, and not just mobile to avoid sacks, but mobile
dangerous
to a point that they are a weapon.
Yeah.
And if there's any kryptonite for Georgia's team, which a lot of teams, if you got one of those kind of quarterbacks that is a +1 that changes the way you scheme things up and the way you defend. That's what Alabama has beat Georgia with. And Ty Simpson's mobile, but he is not that kind of mobile. He's on the year rushing the ball 17 carries for 45 yards. That's 2.6.
Right. He's not a statue.
So he's making
he's not a statue in the pocket or anything. He's got athletic mobility. But honestly, in terms of mobility, he's closer to Carson Beck than he is some of those other quarterbacks you named in terms of his ability to hurt you with his legs. And so does that help close this gap that we seem to have against these ultra-mobile quarterbacks?
Yeah. And the thing is about Bama, and we can talk about other teams on Georgia's schedule, but the one team that matches up in terms of just quality and blue chip quality players, minus culture, because that depends on the coaching staff, but is Alabama. They're the one team that who else? Unless you get to the playoffs and you got to play Ohio State, it's really Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State in terms of overall team talent.
Yeah.
Now, it depends on where you have that talent. It really makes a big difference where that talent is skewed towards, in a given year. But that's the thing that I think that makes this game always can go either way, because you can't just overpower a team like that.
Yeah, the roster is still elite. You can say
yes.
You could probably make a case that Alabama hasn't shown this season that they're elite any longer. I don't know if that's the case. Some teams just take longer to get going. But the roster is a top 3, possibly a top 2, possibly a top 1 roster.
Yes.
We deep dive. Troop and I have watched every single minute of Alabama football this year at this point, and I can assure you they have players that the Dogs would salivate over having on their roster, littering both sides of the ball. So it's not a talent against talent. That was the Notre Dame loss stung because of that last year. Georgia was by far the more talented team. That is not the case going into this game whatsoever. So
saying that we have, this is a preview. We have watched these games with Alabama. Mm-hmm. What, Smooch, do you think Alabama? I mean, what have you seen them do well? And we're going to eliminate that Louisiana Monroe game. We're going to talk about Florida State and Wisconsin. Have you seen Alabama do well?
First of all, they found gold in that the other wide receiver, Bernard, right? He looks phenomenal, and he has the same look. There's a look that explosive players have the second the ball touches their hand. You see it when Zachariah Branch gets a hold of the ball, and he just looks dangerous all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you're like, somebody get him on the ground before he breaks it for a long one. Bernard brings that. It's a great compliment to Williams. That's something they do well. Ty Simpson, we said this earlier, Troop, he throws one of the prettiest balls in football. He throws a beautiful spiral. When he's on platform, he delivers the ball very well. And then on defense, there's talent everywhere. Their front is still nasty. They've still got monsters in the middle. All of that looks very much what we've come to expect from Alabama. I think it really comes down to So the Florida State game, and that was the first game of the season, like you said, Florida State made the decision, Ryan Williams will not beat us in this game. Now, that is not a way that Kirby Smart normally coaches, right? He says, I'm going to play my defense. They'll adjust things. But Florida State rolled everything at Ryan Williams, and Bernard looked fabulous. They both look good since. So that's what they do well. They're explosive. When they get the ball in the hands of their athletes, there's a possibility of them scoring, and they've still got that quick strike ability.
And there, Bernard, I mean, everybody is afraid of Ryan Williams, and he is that kind of player. Mm-hmm. But Bernard is leading the way right now. This is his third team. I don't know if you knew that. He has been with Michigan State, Washington, and then it's his second season at Alabama. He's averaging 18 yards per reception right now. He's already got 15 receptions. How many touchdowns? Three already. So he's kind of the go-to guy. And Ryan Williams is that explosive rocket ship. You get him the ball, and he's going to make people miss, keep his balance. He did that a couple weeks ago against Wisconsin. He had 165 yards receiving on 5 catches. So Williams, they're using him a lot more in the slot, which they're gonna move him around.
Yeah,
I mean, but he runs out of the slot, which I don't think really benefits him as much.
No.
But as a tandem, Bernard number 5 and Williams number 2, those are 2 players that Georgia's going to have to find a way to contain and limit. You just don't want explosive touchdown plays. I mean, if they're going to catch some explosive plays, it's when those explosive plays end up in touchdowns that you don't have to execute any longer.
Yeah,
you're not at the 13-yard line and have to still navigate those last few yards. You don't. So that's the big deal. Tackle them. Get them down. So we'll see how that works out.
That's the very reason the Tennessee game was so close, right? When they made the explosive plays, their players kept their feet, made a play on the ball, and then scored. You rarely see that from a Georgia team. It happened twice. That's a 14-point swing for those of you playing the home game right there in the game. So, yeah, they're going to get theirs. Can Georgia limit the damage instead of just giving them long touchdowns?
And I want you to comment on this, Mooch, because what I watched, especially during the Wisconsin game, is Wisconsin didn't get a lot of pressure on Simpson, and he was just standing in the pocket, just chilling, standing straight up, and had no. I mean, and the runners, the receivers were running very easy access, crisp routes with no physicality, and he was playing pitch and catch. He had a big game. It was like
it looked like 7 on 7 is what it looked like.
He looked magnificent. Yeah. He looked so good. Yeah. And if he is that good against Georgia's defense, then I just don't. Georgia's not going to allow him to have that comfort. Mm-hmm. I know that. But if he can get enough time to make those passes, he's really good. And most quarterbacks are, but he is really good if you give him that time, and you don't bang the receivers off their routes, and you don't show him something that's confusing to him. Mm-hmm. Georgia's going to do those things because Georgia's looking at the same film that we are, right. And they know how he is comfortable and what you got to do. And it's usually you got to take these guys off their comfort level in terms of their footwork and make them move, and then see what decisions they make. But if you don't do that, if you play a zone like Wisconsin did and Georgia won't, don't worry.
Right.
But if you play zone like they did and just sit back. Yeah, man, he looked great. So I don't expect it to be that simple for him Saturday.
No, it's going to be more of a feast and famine version of him. Georgia's going to play aggressive. They're going to hit some big plays, but it's just giving up that 17-yard dig. I mean, who does that? Wisconsin does it, in case you're wondering what the answer is. If you let him stand in the pocket and plant his feet, it doesn't matter what your defense is doing if you give him that kind of time and protection, because he is a great thrower of the football. I'm not sure how good of a quarterback he is yet, because quarterbacks have to make off-platform throws. Ben Roethlisberger comes to mind as someone that made his entire living off getting off-platform and making huge throws. Ty hasn't shown the ability to do that yet. He's more of a Byron Leftwich. If you leave him in the pocket, he's got a good arm and he'll hurt you. So that's and we're using such a small sample size to make all these assertions. But what we've seen so far is he needs time and to set his feet, and when he does, he's really dangerous.
Yes. And I want to alleviate one, I think, even though it'll be a point of emphasis Saturday, I want to alleviate some of you Georgia fans who are saying, well, what are we going to do in the defensive backfield? We got guys who are making mistakes and can't cover. No. Against Tennessee, those guys were where they needed to be, just didn't make the plays. That's not something that happens on the regular. If you put those guys on the island and they're in position to make a play, you got to feel like 9 out of 10 times they're going to make at least a play to knock the ball down. And some of those times they're going to come up with an interception or do something spectacular. 4 out of those 5 guys were 5-star players. The only player back there, and I'll name them for you, that wasn't a 5-star was Daniel Harris, still a high 4-star, which his measurables are off the charts. And so you got DeMello Jones, you got Aguero, you got Dalen Everett, and then you got the guy Ellis Robinson, all 5 stars. Their talent, their size, their length, all off the charts. And they've been coached to the point where if they weren't performing practice, you wouldn't see them on the field. And so, man, Georgia's got the talent to handle that. It comes down to just in an instant, specifically making a play. Yeah. And that's not something I worry about. There's lots of things I worry about. That's not one of those.
I don't worry about it at all, because if you look at the 2 Tennessee plays, which we keep going back to, when people are trying to judge the entire secondary on 2 plays, if you look at those guys, they got one for sure got his hand on the ball and disrupted it. It just didn't bounce the right way. Will he learn from it? A better way to swat the ball down rather than trying to pick it, I think what was trying to happen there. Yeah, that's all possible. But the thing is these are thoroughbreds. Thoroughbreds get better after experiences like that. They don't just say, "Oh, I gave up a touchdown at Tennessee. My career's over. I give up." No, they're being coached off of it. And it's the first time in a live game they've experienced that type of failure. That type of thing to a true stud at a position motivates them to get better. And they've got the best coaching staff in the country to get better. So we didn't see busted coverages on those touchdowns. We saw guys not make a play on the ball even when they were in position. I don't see that as a sign of bad things. I see it as a step in the right direction this early in the season.
Yeah, there was actually one of the top players in America in the defensive backfield. I didn't even mention. Oh my goodness, KJ Bolden. He's back there too. That's him.
That's because he's a linebacker that happens to play safety.
Star as well? yeah. KJ Bolden, one of the best players in America, made a couple of decisions that didn't help Georgia, but those are learning processes on the road, not in Athens. That I feel like he's a guy, if he makes the right choice or he plays a little bit better in some of those situations, those touchdowns don't happen. So the explosive plays don't end in 6 points. They end in, a tackle for 20, 30 yards downfield. So I feel good about he's a guy that I think, is going to have a spectacular season. And the fact that he didn't against Tennessee and we still won, I'm good with that.
Let's also mention that was in Neyland Stadium running against a different offense than you face all season as well. Those things factor in. Alabama's a little more what you come to expect. Georgia can mimic it at practice, those types of things. So. You won't be surprised at what they run in. Tennessee ran some things they really have adapted their defense. We'll talk about that another time, but the kind of gimmicky stuff they've done in the past, you've seen Heupel actually adapt and change some things, and we say, okay, this doesn't look like what we saw before. No. But Georgia will put those DBs on islands against Alabama. Yeah, they're gonna have to. I mean, because they want to take away some stuff across the middle, some of those crossing routes that Ty Simpson is very comfortable with, and that's going to happen in the 10 to 15 yard range. So you're going to have them DBs on the island out there, and there's a reason we recruit like this, and we want those guys because we want to put those guys in that situation because they're going to be NFL players in those situations. Yeah. They will be those guys. Our players are. Defensive backfield is that talented, so be okay with that. Yeah. But we're going to use that to get home on Ty Simpson, and we're going to run some plays to get pressure on him. But we have to have. If you give him all day, if you give him 4 seconds to throw the ball, it's going to be a one-on-one battle for the 50-50 ball at the best. But if you get to him before then, which is what we anticipate Georgia's going to try to do, 100%. I think they're going to. I love the fact that Kirby is going to continue to put the guys on out. This is big boy football. We recruited big boys. We spend a lot of time and resources to acquire these guys. When you got a racehorse, you let them run. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Get out there and do it. Get better. They had a great game a week or two ago to get better. They learned a lot. Put them out there. Let them do their thing. No, you're not going to see massive change in philosophy or anything. You're going to be on islands. You're going to have to make a play on the ball. But Ty Simpson doesn't get rid of the ball in 1.9 seconds either. And so you're going to see a little difference in the pass rush's ability to get home.
Yeah, and if he is getting rid of the ball that quick, you tip your cap and you say the play calling and the execution was really good, and that's what you would try to do. But those are a lot of times that happens in some of those scripted plays. But then when there's adjustment and adaptation, then that changes. You saw that in the Georgia-Tennessee game as well. Yeah. Even one of those plays, Smooch, and I called Coach Hayes on this one. I called him. I said, hey, dude, show me what happened. There was a touchdown late in the game where it was a Staley. that had a little, he did a crossing route, and then he went up, and the safety came up, Thomas, to try to cover him, and they released a running back out there too, so they put him in conflict with two players, and he kind of played in the middle and gave up a long touchdown to Staley. And I was like, who was the blame here?
Yeah.
If we looked at that and went over it, and I still don't feel like we figured out who was to blame in that situation. Maybe another there was another player on the back end who kind of hedged to the other side, but it was just one of those plays where it was schemed up at the perfect time, and it put a cornerback or put a defensive back in conflict, and that's what you try to do, and they executed that.
They did.
But so I will say again, DeBoer 2-6 away from Tuscaloosa.
2-6 away from
Georgia,
Tuscaloosa.
what, a 4.5 point favorite right now. You get about 3 points for being at home, so it's basically a pick 'em.
Yeah, it's a pick. It's a pick.
Georgia, are they fifth in the AP poll, whatever that means? Alabama got dropped a few points. They didn't even play. The 17th. I think they're better than that, but.
Well, we've got teams without that haven't won a game yet, still in the top 25. So we'll take that for what it is.
Oh my goodness, is it crazy right now that we got teams that are like 1-2, 1-3? Clemson is just destructing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And Florida, man, there's some teams that they're just, man, they are having just the worst of luck and poor seasons, not winning any of those games. They have to win now.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about. We have some information about Georgia's offensive line. And one of our insiders, I don't want to name him just right now because he was like, be careful. Anyway, we had somebody on at practice last week, and he said, what do you want me to look at?
Right.
And it was late last week. And so you're starting to see the install for Alabama. And we were like, look at the right side of the offensive line because the huge question.
Yeah.
It was a big question last week because, or 2 weeks ago, because we saw Uini. He played a lot of guard, and he was probably the third string right tackle. And he got in there, and he just had one of those games where he does not want to ever see that film again. It was like rec league kind of mistakes and sloppiness, and just not knowing it was so bad. And I'm surprised Georgia was able to succeed in spite of that.
Yes.
And so we asked him, what are we doing? Because we got some injuries over there. We know that Ernest Green and Juan Gaston both have been dinged up, right, Smooch?
Yeah. Ernest Green has a condition that has lasted. It's probably been going on 2 years. May have been going on longer. That he's dealing with. As for Gaston, you've got a young player, a true freshman with a bum leg, and an experienced player can take an injury like that, get on the field, and still execute because he knows his responsibility so well. But when you add that type of distraction for a young player of having to nurse an injury along, so what they're trying to figure out is where is he, because he's one of the most physically gifted guys we have. And so is that injury no longer, I mean, I'm sure he is aware of it, but is it no longer affecting his ability to do his job in terms of knowing his assignment, what to do, think on his feet, hear checks, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so our prediction, our wish, maybe that was our wish last week, was to have just put Glover, another true freshman, in there, been there since July.
But he's looked great. He's looked great.
And coach, get Gaston, who projects as a right tackle, but been playing right guard this year. Put him at right tackle if he's ready to go. Those are the two most talented guys there, and we'll go with that, hopefully. And that's what we were hoping for. But the practice report came back. That's really not what they're seeing, what was seen. And you just mentioned that the veteran, I guess, savviness, Ernest Green is still running with the ones. And
right. That's what
we don't know if he can play a whole game that way, but he knows his job and he knows what to do. And he had some plays that were embarrassing. He really did. He got thrown down a few times that they were like, ooh, that was ugly. You don't want to put that on film. But he's running with the ones right now. If he's available, he's going to play with the ones. And they got Glover and Gaston both playing at guard. Glover may start, and Gaston could play both positions. That's what we're hearing. Yeah. And Hewley is probably the number 2 right tackle right now. He was sensational. He really propelled us in that fourth quarter to give Gunnar Stockton time to win that game.
Hewley saved that game. He is the unsung hero of that game because all he did was come in and perform his job and take right tackle out of the equation for glaring weakness for a few series.
The only thing he's got going against him is he's just not as big as most right tackles.
Yes.
I think he's still south of 300 pounds. He's a big cat.
290s, yeah.
And he came in lighter than that, but he's got all the talent. And man, he was right I say in phase, but he was right with the rush every time. He was right where he needed to be. But that's with the pass pro. And they worry about him more with the run game. And now, so Glover, Glover's good there, but Gaston, he's an animal against running the ball, moving. He's a people mover because he's gigantic. People mover as a freshman. And I think he's one of the best 5, but we'll see. I would predict right now it's going to be Green starting and then Glover at right tackle, right guard, and then you're going to see some guy. They're going to rotate and they'll find out who is playing the best. But you got some options at least.
Yeah, I think when the season started, they didn't think they know that Gaston is an eventual tackle because of his size. I don't think they entertained the notion that you might need to be considering him at a tackle with the ones at this point in the season. I think that kind of caught them. That's not something they were actively preparing for. So you've got to do some cross training, and that's the type of thing we're hearing. Some of these guys are preparing to play that right side where needed, that type of thing, and because they've got to at some point say this is our unit, and here's what we're rolling with, and we have not gotten there yet.
It's tough to try to figure that out between 2 games of Tennessee and Alabama. Those kind of that's how your season goes, how those games go. So and our top 2 right tackles to begin the season were Ernest Green and Josh Jackson. Yeah, and Josh Jackson's kind of fell off, and I don't know what they're how they predict to you or how they want to use him going forward, if at all, or if he just needs to take some time. I don't know. Anyway, moving on, Smooch. The last segment I really want to talk about is what does Georgia need to do to win this game? It's in Athens. It's a night game. And if you just say we're due, you could say just we're due. We could be a team that was favored to lose. We're losing, like Vegas said, we're going to lose by 7 points, and you still feel like we're at home. Mm-hmm. This is the game that Georgia really should find a way to win. Or is there anything, before I got points, I don't know if you've thought about it, what Georgia needs to do to pull out a W Saturday night, and let me and Smooch and Chad, Mercer, all of us guys smoke some victory cigars.
Come on,
late Saturday night.
I got the cigars already. That's got to be a good sign, right? The cigars are ready to go. Georgia has to do to win. I think that Gunner has to put his stamp on this team that he is without question a top quarterback in the SEC. Gunner has to show up. I think he will. I think guys like him with his makeup play better in games like this. Gunner's got to come out and protect the football, at the same time remain aggressive. And I have complete confidence in that. I think Georgia will be able to run the ball. I've got complete confidence in that. Georgia's got to be able to keep people out of Gunner's face.
Yes.
And that is probably the biggest one, because that's where our most glaring weakness has been. We had free rushers against what was the little school we played?
Austin P.
Austin P had free rushers coming at Gunner. That can't happen when you've got the thoroughbreds that Bama has. And so that's the thing they have to do. They have got to give Gunner time. If Gunner simply takes a step forward in maturity and keeping his eyes downfield when he breaks contain, he could be a huge weapon. So that's all on offense. I love where the receivers are right now. I love where the running game is. On defense, we have got to get pressure on the quarterback while staying aggressive on the back end. Aggression. I think that I want to make the game a game of our quarterback versus your quarterback, because I like Georgia's chances in that. And so if that's what it comes down to, if we can make, they say make so-and-so beat you, make the quarterback beat us. We don't want to get into a big game because we lost contain. We're letting receivers run wild. No, lock down the receivers, make a play on the ball, but more than anything, make Simpson make good passes while being distracted, by being disrupted. If we can just affect his rhythm at all on defense, the whole game shifts. Simpson so far has been a completely different quarterback under pressure than he is when he has time. And so on offense, you've got to keep Gunner upright, keep his jersey clean and pretty. He's going to dirty it up enough on his own, diving around and doing all that Gunner stuff. And on defense, you have got to affect the rhythm of a rhythm passer in Ty Simpson. I think those two things right there, everything else falls into place, Troop.
It's a great point. He is a rhythm passer. That's what I was seeing, trying to put my finger on why he looked so comfortable, because it was all in rhythm. He could take his normal drop against Wisconsin and just go through his progressions and, drink a cup of coffee on the side, and wave at his girlfriend in the stands and then deliver across the middle and, slap high fives with his right tackle, and they're always good.
Yeah.
But you're right. That will be a focal point for Georgia to affect him, whether it's with 4 or 5 or 6. Georgia's gonna get. You don't see those things in the exotic defenses in games 1 and 2.
No.
And it's tougher to do it sometimes on the road with a Tennessee offense that can go really fast. But at home, you're gonna see you're gonna see every bell and whistle. You're gonna see everything that Georgia has been working on all offseason to do what they need to do. And there's no excuse that they won't, unless you just believe in the Bama mystique.
Yeah.
I think. I don't really believe in it. Anybody doesn't feel that way anymore since Saban left.
Right.
And so we'll see Saturday night. My point, Smooch, was, of course, win the line of scrimmage. We mentioned that. Whether you have to do it with 4 people or 6 people, got to win it.
Yes,
Georgia
that's
can't.
a great point. Right.
They cannot be a turnstile on the right side of their offensive line, because Bama's got some athletes and they will make you pay for it. And sometimes those turn into turnovers. And so we don't want to see that. We talk about defense in home games. That's really one of your biggest advantages is especially late in the game, that defense in a home game. Boy, they disrupt everything, and they can get momentum, and they can roll when the crowd gets into it, and you got play after play after play.
Fans have got to show up. Show up big.
Did you? We will. Did you see what Oklahoma did to Auburn?
Auburn, yeah, sure did.
It was a home game. 10 sacks. That doesn't happen if they're not at home. 10 sacks.
Exactly right.
Momentum rolls. Fan creates it just kind of feeds off of each other. I will say that Ryan Williams and Bernard have to be managed. 2 and 5, they're going to look to get them the ball. Most teams do that. Georgia kind of looks who's open. Most teams will try to get their playmakers the ball as much as possible. They're going to look for them. Yeah. But, like you said, maybe Aguero is watching the quarterback's eyes, and he has to rush it a little bit, and they're going to pull a Chris Smith and jump the route and take it for 6. Those guys, we can't let them beat us. And that's my biggest worry, is those are the 2 factors on their offense that scares me more than anything, because the Bama's only averaged
a touchdown waiting to happen. Right, both of them.
Anytime. They've only averaged 80 yards rushing per game against the 2 teams with a pulse, Wisconsin and Florida State. 80 yards a game rushing. They're giving up 160 yards a game on defense rushing against those same 2 teams. So
it doesn't even sound – some of these stats don't even sound correct.
They may be okay with that. This is not Saban. This is DeBoer. West Coast. Washington. This is not the same kind of a coaching staff, and they're okay with that running the offense. And if it beats Georgia, then but typically you don't see that winning against a team at Georgia that's going to be at home. If Georgia wins the rushing battle, that's where a lot of games hinge on, because it's a cumulative thing where the 4 quarters and you win in those 4 quarters. It's going to be a close game. You expect to win the 4th quarter if you are a team that's been successful during the game running the ball. And so that's why Georgia's stubborn, and that's why some of us fans look at it and say, quit being conservative. Buddy, it's like a boxing match. It takes time. Some of those punches that don't do any damage in the 1st quarter, they start to do damage in the 4th quarter.
The reason you throw body blows, you don't throw body blows to knock someone out. You throw body blows so they pull their hands down, and then you can
make
knock
them
out.
quit. They
well,
quit.
your hands are up here. You get hit in the
Yep.
gut. Your hands come down here, and what have you left exposed? That
That's
is
right.
Kirby's philosophy in a nutshell of how to play these games.
It is. So people feel like we're being conservative. Yeah. The game plan is a lot more involved than just what we feel as fans sometimes on any particular drive or play. So manage those two wide receivers.
Love it.
And then Georgia as an offense, just like we said about Bama, you got to avoid it. Georgia needs to be explosive.
Yes.
And we showed that against Tennessee. Be explosive. Be willing to take shots. Be willing to throw the ball up for us. We got lots of weapons. 50-50 balls. Let's get it up to Noah Thomas and Kobe Young. Let's get it to those guys.
Yeah.
And
Get it to the
get the
skyscrapers.
ball.
Yep.
To Zachary Branch, get him the ball. Let him make a play that looks like should be a 6-yard gain and turn it into a touchdown. He's done that twice this year already. Twice. And Peanut's a guy who was kind of nursing an ankle injury. They say he's looked like he's full go. He's another home run hitter. You know, we love the other running backs, and they're gonna accumulate the body blows for against Alabama. And Frazier can break one too. McCray, I like what I've seen from him. Bowen's like what I've seen from him. But Peanut's that guy who can take a little, just make one cut and be gone.
And I will tell you this, from watching the games, that type of play, the gadget player has hurt Bama in 2 of their games so far this year, where he comes in, they don't have him properly accounted for. He gets covered by a linebacker or gets behind someone and is gone. It happened a few times against Florida State. Matter of fact, they had a touchdown off of it by handing it to one of their, just a track speed guy, and any sort of window dressing has affected the Bama defense negatively this year. And so they took everybody one way, gave it to the gadget guy around the end. He's gone, touchdown. Those types of things, Georgia has got to be explosive. And I love your mention of Peanut because he could be that factor that no one is accounting for right now. Everybody's talking about Frazier, everybody's talking about Colby Young, everybody's talking about Zachariah Branch. It's when that one kid comes on that you haven't properly accounted for, and he blows the game open.
Yeah. And it's those explosive plays that turn into touchdowns. And like I said, when they turn into 6, it's a whole different ball game than when you got to still navigate that red zone. And also London Humphreys, he may be it looks like he and Gunner have some confidence in each other, some comfort level, and that matters. I mean, why wouldn't you? He threw a couple of balls to Humphreys, who just made spectacular plays, and they teamed up.
Yeah. Did you hear Kirby say it was the first time that Gunner has thrown that particular route to Humphreys?
Yeah.
That's the kind of trust those two have in each other. They are sharing the same brain.
It looked like they worked on that play all summer and were ready for it because. Hey, it's 4th and 6. Let's do it. We got this. I'm not hitting you in the corner. Yeah. Let's do it. But my last point, and it's a big one, and if some of those explosive plays don't turn into touchdowns and Georgia's got to drive the ball, Gunner Stockton as a +1 in the red zone is gigantic. It's gigantic. It's been that way for several years now. Those +1 quarterbacks in the red zone inside the 10-yard line, the scoring rate is so much higher. There's so much. It's tough to defend that. And you've seen Gunner. He's got no problem breaking tackles, outrunning people, and following blockers. They have schemed stuff up just to get him the ball on those plays. You got 2 tight ends blocking for him. That makes me feel so much better. I love Carson Beck and what he did for Georgia. Yeah. But he didn't have that. And sometimes you kind of stalled in the red zone because of it. Had to kick field goals.
Yeah, I noticed that, a 3rd and 7 is not necessarily a pass this year for the Dogs, that type of thing. That's what Gunner brings that Carson just couldn't really do. A 3rd and 7, you can have everybody covered and you give up 13 yards. That's the kind of thing that Gunner adds, the dimension he adds to this year's team.
We can't wait. It's game week, Smooch.
It's here, baby.
We got a big weekend plan. We're going up on Friday afternoon, and we're going to set up at a campsite. Our buddy Chad Kennedy's got a camper. We're going to set up there and spend a good amount of time drinking whiskey that Friday night and cooking. Yeah. Smooch is cooking for us. We're going to have some wonderful food, talking ball. You're right. We'll probably do a pod. I really think we're going to put something together for you guys on that. I'm pretty sure Friday night it'll be something quick and easy we can send out, maybe not with video or anything, but I mean, maybe
B-roll,
just
no B-roll.
Yeah, no B-roll. That's what we won't have that. But yeah, so look forward to that. And then Saturday, of course, some of the same. We're going to try to pace ourselves because a night game, you really have to plan your alcohol and your food and your timing, all that stuff. Because I've been to games, Smooch. Well, I think it was probably 20 years ago. We went to an Auburn game in Auburn, and it was a big game. It was what, Cadillac and Ronnie Brown were both on that team, and it was like 03, I think. And it was of course, we had a good weekend, but I missed the whole game. I was there. I was in the stadium. I could not tell you one play.
Oh man, you had too much fun too early, man.
I had way too much fun too early and didn't know my limits, and so I'm not going to do that this weekend because
you got a lot different metabolism these days. So.
Even less so. Yeah. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, it is. The thing am I going to be so wound up about the Georgia game happening that night that we ignore college football all day? Because there's some games I want to pay attention to. But, man, I am already unable to focus at work. And anybody that stops by my office gets to hear about the game. We don't talk business at all. That's not happening. And so I'm looking forward to it. In the offseason, we had a show with Coach Hayes, and we got on that subject. This is the game that is circled for, as we said at the very beginning of this pod tonight, exercising the demons. Just that Alabama A with the stupid little flag on the top of it has become something that it shouldn't be, even after Saban. Let's go ahead and put that to bed Saturday night, Troop Brinson.
Yep. I think we'll watch games mid-Saturday afternoon, but Coach Hayes was like, I want to put an Oregon-style beating on Alabama. I was like, you think we're going to win 49-3? He was like, maybe. I
wouldn't be upset if that happened. But,
yeah. I mean, the fourth quarter might not be as exciting, but I would take that too. It's going to be the fireworks in the nighttime. The weather is going to be spectacular. 79 degrees is the high, and sunny. This weekend in Athens. The Dog Show will be on the scene, so we appreciate you folks.
Georgia has never lost when the Dog Show was on the scene.
Never. We haven't lost. You're exactly right. That's good stuff. So if you see us, recognize us, let us know. We'll talk some ball with you. We'll be, like I said, mid-afternoon. We'll be on campus and strolling around and meeting the people and taking in everything. Mm-hmm. Anything in closing, Smooch?
Man, looking forward to it, guys. Yeah, let's grab a drink or talk ball together if you happen to see us. And we do this because we love to talk ball. So just let's.
Sometimes we meet up at Dooley's. We meet up at Dooley's sometimes on Saturday afternoons.
Yeah, you'll if you hang out at Dooley's at all, you'll see us at some point. That's where we like. I love those little pretzel bite things they got there.
Can't wait for Smooch Moncrief. This is Troop Brinson saying so long. We'll see you Saturday.
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.